There's something about superheroes we all love. They're beyond just a powerful figure, they're a godly figure. They are something a normal person can't really be. They're good on the inside and generally do, but are not required to, have some form of depth. As a person who watched a ton of cartoons growing up, before suddenly stopping at around 2007, I was attached to many animated superheroes from my generation, and my list will look at ones I like the best. Not necessarily from how heroic I see them, but to the type of character they are, how awesome their abilities are, and how much I like their personalities. All that. Keep in mind, this is my list, not a list representing what's popular, so it's likely that many of our opinions will differ. But I am glad to read people's personal favorites. To stop this list from being redundant, there is a one character per franchise or show rule. Number 10. Static from Static Shock. Sure, he's kind of a walking, or I guess flying stereotype, but that kind of stuff happens. If you want proof of this, please refer to Shaolin Showdown. Static is one cool dude. He drops these wisecracks.
Nina, what's with the costume? You gonna fight some ninjas?
He can do electrokinesis, magnetic manipulation, and flying stuff. I won't make this a factor in any other hero on this list, but I also really like his costume. It's just so slick, and a bit sci-fi-y. Nothing too practical here, not much of a personality. Fits right into the DC animated universe. Number 9. Jenny Wakeman, or XJ9, from My Life as a Teenage Robot. While I thought the show was mediocre, I was drawn in by the teenage superhero concept here. I feel like the most enjoyable part of the show was none other than our lovable protagonist, Jenny. She had this whole robot thing going on with cool creative ways to destroy giant monsters. You know, like a drill on her head. I find it enjoyable that even though she saves the world, she's not a social doll. Unlike someone like Kim Possible, who's an obvious teenage girl fantasy character, since Kim is a secret agent, has an incompetent man sidekick, and is super popular. I didn't watch much of that show, so yeah, I'm a bit of a sucker for the outcast character anyway. Also, Jenny's body has a lot of weird gadgets all over it.
A hideous swamp mutant! We have a super cool telescope out back. You feel like you can reach out and touch the stars.
Jenny's a bit of a construct rather than a true character, but she's very pleasant to watch on screen since she is overall a well-intentioned character that acts like a teenager. Maybe too much like a teenager.
Alright, you're under arrest for noise pollution.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Noise pollution!
But come on, she's a robot. What do you expect?
Welcome to my life. I'm a teenage robot. Story of my life. I'm a teenage robot. My teenage robot life.
Number 8. Danny Phantom from Danny Phantom. And yet another teenager. Huh. Danny is incredibly responsible for a 14-year-old kid gifted with ghost powers. Yeah, he's so responsible with keeping his identity secret and capturing ghosts after his molecules got all rearranged. Even though I admire shows like Ed and Eddie for giving us characters that acted like kids, Danny acting like an adult despite him being a kid makes him more heroic, albeit unrealistic. But he can serve as a bit of a role model, and he can do ghost powers, which I've never seen before. And they're really diverse. Let's see, flight, intangibility, ghost sense, and ectoblast. I don't even know what those are. And when he levels up later, he can do a banshee whale and ice powers. Danny functions well as a connectable protagonist who's a true Superman. He's really shown as someone who can handle everything. He's a simple character who's a little too perfect, but serves his function as a likable hero, with a new set of cool superpowers. Number 7. Raven from Teen Titans. Okay, I just realized how often they did the teenage superhero thing when I made this list. Originally, I want to pick Robin because he's the most badass adaptation of Robin I'd seen until Under the Red Hood, but he spent way too much time brooding and being emo that I was kind of annoyed with him, despite the fact that he was probably the most consistently competent member of his party. Instead, I pick Raven. Now, all the Titans have fairly solid personalities and cool powers. Raven, to me, felt the most complete and also the most mysterious. She developed the most as a character for me. Even though she's gothic, she's only a fraction as emo as Robin, except when she was throwing fits about the end being nigh in the 4th season.
This is all great, but it's not gonna make a difference. Today the prophecy will be fulfilled. Trigon is coming. There's no stopping him.
There's never been a villain we couldn't stop before.
Trigon isn't a villain. He is the incarnation of evil, the source of all darkness.
Okay, bad dude, we get it.
No, you don't. You don't know Trigon.
I like Raven because of her relationship to her team. It's there, but as the series goes on, there are clear signs that she's growing closer to her teammates, and I felt a lot less of that from the other characters. She's distant, but she grows closer and closer to her friends as we cycle through the seasons, even smiling at them. Like in the episode Car Trouble, where she bonds with Cyborg after he gets his car stolen.
Maybe you were right. Maybe it was just a car.
Maybe. Maybe not. When I use my powers, I have to put a little of my soul into whatever I'm moving. I become a part of it, and it becomes a part of me. That's kind of what happened here. It wasn't just a car. It was your baby.
Yeah.
Also, I like her quips.
Evil beware. We have waffles.
Though I'm not exactly sure what her powers are, it appears to be telekinesis with like a dark aura and like a Green Lantern type thing. Pretty standard, I guess. Unless she feels down to stop her father, the devil, then she becomes omnipotent. Don't ask. I don't know either. Number 6. Gohan from Dragon Ball Z. I know Goku is popular, but I feel the more interesting character is Gohan. He's a character that has a hidden power, and he becomes afraid of it.
I'm telling you, I don't want to fight anymore, Cell. Even though you're evil, I really have no desire to kill you.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I just hear you threaten to kill me? Interesting.
Please don't do this! If you unleash my power, I won't be able to stop it! I'll kill you!
Now, I found Vegeta more interesting than Gohan, but he was a little bit too much villain to be considered for this list. Back to Gohan. Gohan grabbed my interest, especially in the Cell Saga, because he was a kid who was afraid of his power. He was afraid of it corrupting him. It was there in the Saiyan and Frieza saga, but it was mainly used as some kind of filler until Goku came to save the day. Yeah, Gohan never harmed any of his friends in these rampages, but he did get his dad killed when he was being too sadistic with Frankenstein Bugman Cell instead of just killing him. During the Cell Saga, he finally was complete. He finally had his turn to save the world with his hidden power, and it cost him. Well, the story of Dragon Ball Z is very flawed since death means like nothing, but Gohan was the character that truly reached his arc at the end of the Cell Saga. He also does some stuff in the Buu Saga, but we're not going to talk about it because it sucks. Number 5. The Powerpuff Girls. All 3 of them. I couldn't pick one. I'm a cheater. Yeah. This one is hard to explain, mainly because it's not really about the characters. They're a bit bland beyond simple characteristics. Blossom is smart, Bubbles is bubbly, and Buttercup is tough.
Well, now let's see. Because of your directness and opening right up to me, I think I'll call you Blossom. Well, aren't you all cute and bubbly? That's it. You'll be my little Bubbles. So, we have Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, because it also begins with a B.
Really, the Powerpuff Girls are so ingrained within the show they occupy that this pick is more about the show. They're a bunch of kindergarten girls, all about as powerful as, like, Superman, in an animated world that looks like it was designed by an artistic 9-year-old. And they're the only ones who look like chibi anime characters. The Powerpuff Girls are so strange you gotta love it. Like Yoda. The girls don't fit into any archetype created by the superhero genre. They're not big burly men, nor are they fiercely independent women. They're just a bunch of superpowered little girls. It's the simple charm that makes you attracted to them. Wait, no. They're cute, they're awesome, they fight amongst themselves, they're loved, and they're hated. They are... Number 4. Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, the idea of this show is wonderfully creative. Martial arts style elemental manipulation, and there is a chosen one that can master all 4 elements, who we call the Avatar. The Avatar is expected to bring balance to the Force, and our protagonist Aang is the Avatar in training, learning to master the 4 elements and stop the Japanese Emperor from imperializing the world. Aang is a 12-year-old, and he's a reluctant hero. He has culture shock from being frozen for 100 years. He's unique because he trains to be the advertised superhero. And he's daunted and scared. In the end, he's just a kid. A spiritual kid, but a kid nonetheless. He's a character that grows stronger the longer the series goes on, and I like that. It makes them feel more dynamic. That's good. If a hero never changes, it can get pretty dull. And how much wind does this boy hold? The way I describe him makes him sound kind of like a pansy, huh? Well, just look at this. Number 3. The Samurai from Samurai Jack. First, there's the discussion of whether or not Jack is actually a superhero. Well, riddle me this. He's shown to be trained in the way of the warrior and is at the peak of human conditioning. He often fights and defeats monsters much larger and stronger than him using a magical sword. And among these monsters includes the Lord of Darkness himself, Aku, which always results in the guy running away. Jack perfectly captures the essence of the cool cowboy. He's like a man with no name. Speaking of which, he has no name. Aliens just started calling him Jack when he came to the future. He didn't have much of a personality, but seeing that he's basically an awesome wanderer. In this case, less is more. All he has is a goal to get back to his time and defeat the Lord of Evil back then before he ruined the world and galaxy. And he's an honorable and likable guy doing it too. He helps people who are in need. And he only slices the easily identified bad guys to pieces. Jack, he's awesome. Number 2. Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles. This guy is one sympathetic character, and the movie he comes from is just fantastic. Mr. Incredible is a bit of a strange choice because he's very much part of a larger story. He's a superhero who saves people, and when the public turns on the supers, they all have to go into hiding. Mr. Incredible wants to help people the way he did 15 years before his talents were suppressed by a society that doesn't understand him and thus are afraid of him. You know, the story of the superhero that becomes hated. I find Mr. Incredible to be a great hero even though he has this boring old overused power of mere super strength. His character arc and his Watchmen type worlds just keeps me compelled.
Yes, but who watches the Watcher?
Nice. I'm not sure who's gonna get that though. He is not quite heroic, at least until the end, but he has the longing to feel heroic. His mind didn't let go of how he could help people best. He learns he doesn't want to pursue this heroism thing again when his family is nearly killed and he has a heartfelt reunion with them.
Kids, you're alright.
Oh, you're all right. We're so worried
I'll
about
never
you.
see you again.
His struggle with syndrome isn't really the true conflict, but as a character, the struggle is with himself, his normal life. The power of the character comes from the yearning of wanting to help people the way he knows best. And that's very connectable and very three-dimensional. And that's why he's a great, or shall I say incredible, superhero. So who tops a guy who just wants to return to the good old days? Well... Number 1. Batman from various DC animated universe media. Sorry to be so predictable, but I pick him. I was really thinking about the Justice League for my number 1 because they really were the biggest heroes in my time growing up. Everyone was excited about them. I know people like Superman because of his vast expanse of powers and his unmatched heroism, but Superman is so powerful that when he loses, it's usually when he's dealing with someone ridiculously powerful like Darkseid, or when he's subjected to the Deus Ex Machina of Kryptonite. I have a similar issue with the Hulk.
What we have here is a rare opportunity for me to cut loose and show you just how powerful I really am.
I was also considering the Martian Manhunter because I found him to have a great design and very interesting and weird powers, as well as being a likable badass. But in the end, none of them matched up to Batman. It's amazing how Justice League and Batman TAS gave the idea of a guy dressed up as a giant bat some weight. I was not fortunate enough to see many episodes of Batman the Animated Series when I was younger because it aired in 1992 and I never got to catch it on channels I watched. Although I have seen episodes more recently. The animated series is about how, despite the fact that he's beating loonies up, he's just as crazy as they are. And the only thing that sets Batman higher than the Joker is that he doesn't murder people. It's played straight despite the ridiculous concept. And it's interesting when it's explored. Like in that episode, Trial, where the inmates at Arkham Asylum try to convict Batman in a trial about creating more insane people, and it seems like they kind of have a point.
Look at us. We're all freaks and monsters. And who made us this way? Batman! Yeah!
In Justice League, Batman was the man standing among gods, except Hawkgirl because she sucks, and manages to be the most badass with no powers because he is the one who beats all his villains without being invulnerable in any way. The cool gadgets help too. Even though as a member of the Justice League he's not physically invulnerable, he does seem to be invulnerable in many other ways. Especially in the way he's written, in that he never gets like hurt really badly in that series. And he also has intellectual invulnerability. Whenever someone tries to argue with him, unless it's Wonder Woman in some cases, he always wins.
Let's go. No, you're staying here. That venom almost killed you. So you're staying here.
I know this must be hard for you, feeling vulnerable. You're the only one of us without special powers, and we're only trying to...
I'm taking the shuttle. Unless you want to try and stop me.
No.
It was probably written this way because the writers got their priorities straight and knew that Batman the Animated Series built the DC animated universe, and many of the fans are fans of the animated series. So they appeased the fans. Although Batman dodging the Omega Beam, probably a bit of a stretch.
Flee.
Batman has evolved into a cultural icon of badassery. He was always a combination of Sherlock Holmes and Zorro. No, not that Zorro. Though he went through campy adaptations, his dark comic book self was really captured in Batman the Animated Series and expanded on in the Justice League to be the brains of that organization. Though the fear he inspires in TAS is not so prominent in Justice League. Despite this is my favorite adaptation of Batman I've seen. I'm sorry if certain Marvel heroes aren't on this list, I just didn't find most of these shows in the era that I grew up in. Most of the animated adaptations of those characters are from a different era. Alright, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed what I've had to say.